And chirp number one, Milan Lucic is entering the substance abuse program through the NHL. He is still on long-term IR. He is also on a leave of absence following the incident at his home that now, as details emerge, I guess a sleepover with his kids, which was another disturbing little antidote. And so now Lucic is still off the team. He's still away from the team. And I'm thinking now, could it be that the Bruins are going to continue on with him, let him go through the process of the program, and potentially bring him back?
God, I hope not. That would be a mistake in my eyes. I mean, I don't think there's any room for an organization that welcomed Mitchell Miller to such poor PR and poor publicity to keep a guy who this has happened with now a second time. It's not the first time. You know, I guess they could let him go through the program and then, you know, cut him loose at that point. But it seems odd the way they're kind of handling it and that they haven't already cut him loose. You know, he's played 4 games, 0 goals, 2 assists, -1 with 1 shot on goal, and he's averaging about 12 minutes of ice time a game. So he's, you know, we've talked a little bit about what kind of impact he has had and will have, but they don't appear to be missing him right now, do they?
No. What impact? The impact, is that what Bruins fans want to believe he brings? Or what impact does he really bring to the table? You mentioned 12 minutes a game. They're not going to do anything out there to our star players with Luch out there. Like, I just think it's severely overblown. I think the guy's at the end of the line at 35 years old. He's plodding around the ice even before he got hurt. He hasn't been there for, how many games they played out? 18 games. He hasn't been there for 14 games. They've lost 1 game in regulation.
I mean, the whole thing that a guy like that, an enforcer type, is a deterrent is completely false. Completely false.
It is.
Aaron Rome knocked out Nathan Horton while Lucic was on the ice, I believe.
He was on the ice playing with Horton.
Yes. Matt Cook got his career ended, during a game where they were the Bruins that would fight everybody.
Right.
And it didn't happen at the time. They didn't fight at the time, and they caught some flack for it. But that's not stopping incidents from happening. Having a guy like that, all it is a guy that can beat somebody up after something happens. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to change the way other teams play you. No. Florida's still going to play you hard and tough and forecheck and do all the dirty little shit that they do. They're still going to do that. The teams, the big physical teams, are still going to play you big and physical. And it has nothing to do with guys like Lucic. It's how they handle your star players. It's how the Pasternaks and the Marchands and the McAvoys and the guys like that handle the way that other teams play you. Mm-hmm. They have to be willing to take the hits, absorb the hits, deal with the punishment, and still produce and play up to their level. Right. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not whether Lucic can beat up a guy after McAvoy takes an elbow or Marchand gets hit or Pasternak gets hit. It's how the star players handle getting played in a physical manner.
It's the rock'em sock'em, Neanderthal hockey thing that people think that's what happens. It's not 1975. It's just not. There's not a ton of it as opposed to years ago when it comes to bad hits and fights and those types of things. It's not an ugly a game as it used to be, frankly. And Lucic is not the type of, Lucic is out there 10, 12 minutes, and look at, it could be that he's borderline on the roster anyway, healthy. You could scratch the guy. Sure. He could be scratched a month from now. If he comes back, they could scratch him 2 weeks later. Just for lack of production, and just because they have a better option, So I just don't believe, as you don't, that it really is that much of an effect. I think that the Bruins fans want to believe that, but it's just not You know, I'm fine with Lauko and Steen out there. I
Yeah,
really
I
am. I
was just
mean, I'm
gonna say
fine with
that.
them out there. I mean, they're playing fine. I mean, they're not producing a ton, but they're doing what they need to do for 10 or 12 minutes. And then that's it. I mean, we're talking about fourth line guys. Like, it's
Yeah,
just
I mean
not.
that line to me, I think is probably better with Lauko, Steen, and Beecher together because
Sure.
they're all kind of fast.
Yep.
They'll get in aggressively on the forecheck. They'll both those kids, all three of them actually, will bang bodies. You
Mhm.
know, Beecher's got 3 goals now,
Yeah.
so you know they can do some things, create some things, give the team some energy,
Mhm.
and you know you don't have a heavyweight now. I guess that's a drawback, but I think they can make do without one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a stat where he's not had over more than 5 fights in a season in a long time. Like, it's been a long time. Like, he doesn't fight as much as people think he does either. The whole league doesn't.
Right.
So that's the other thing. It's just, again, it's not the '80s. It's just not.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that the Mitchell Miller thing was there's a ton of blowback. That was
Yeah.
such a bad spot for them. That now to come in and keep this guy who's a borderline roster player. Let's face it. Like,
Yeah.
he's 35 years old. Like, it's not like he's 25 and he was your first round pick 2 years ago. That's a whole different story. This is a guy that you really don't need to keep around. You really don't need to keep around. So I would say that they should let him go, but I'm really thinking that they could be just seeing the process through and trying to make this some sort of feel good story at the end. And I just don't think it's worth it. I don't
No,
think it's worth it.
it's not worth
Um,
it, and I think they're gonna catch a lot of similar blowback, and you know maybe it's because they're friends with the guy, like you
mhm.
know Sweens and Neely know him personally or whatever. So you know, I
That's
hope
the
that's
other
not
thing. If it's Patrick Brown,
right.
what happens?
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
Like,
mean,
it's
Lucic was a beloved guy in the town before before the
Mhm.
incident. So,
Right.
and there's still a decent amount of Bruins fans defending him. Not sure why, not sure how, but there
Not
is.
either.
Um,
Not either.
and so maybe they're gonna let it play out. I think that's the wrong move. But we'll see. We'll see how the Bruins handle it. I guess.
Yeah, I
But
guess.
um, you know,
I guess.
not a bright mark on the team if they keep him around. Certainly.
No. Speaking of how to handle it, Chirp 2, is there a hole left at all in any fashion without Milan Lucic? We've seen them play very good hockey without him. They have one regulation loss. They're just off the pace from last year, which is incredible, without him. So
Yeah,
what do they miss?
I don't like. We just kind of merged 1 and 2 there together, so we've already kind of covered it. But I don't think there's a hole. I think you can get by with Lauko, Steen, and Beecher on the 4th line. I think that would be enough. The only hole I think they're missing is if you need a heavyweight to go up against the Ryan Reeves of the world. I think Freddie,
Treddy.
Trent Frederick, Freddie would be willing to do it. But I don't think really that's his, weight class, so shall we say.
Mhm,
So, Forbes probably too would be willing.
mhm.
But, I guess that would be the one place where you would kind of miss him. But it's really, I think they can get by without it. I wouldn't mind seeing them add some toughness down the road. Somebody else maybe at the trade deadline. To kind of add to the physicality of the team because we've talked about it before that against physical teams I think they need that, but he's not really anything that they'll miss, I don't think.